Okay, everybody, thanks for hanging in there for just a couple of minutes. Wanted to get out and at least share this live video to a few groups out there. I've got one or two that are a couple of pages that I already have them automatically doing, but sometimes navigating the Facebook dashboard is a little bit tricky. But either way, we'll go ahead and get started here. Let's see, make sure I'm getting some volume, which I can hear myself. So I'm going to be tracking on my smartphone for any questions because it seems like the algorithm on smartphones for all the commentary feeds in better than on a PC. So really interesting little things there. One good thing is that the draw tool now works on the OBS software, so I'm able to actually use this tool, which wasn't before until they did some updates. So that's a good thing. But let's go ahead and get started here. I'll pull down the splash screen there. And hey, Dan, how you doing? I already see someone popping in, so that's good. So we're looking at Tropical Storm Debby, right? Winds right now they are at 40 miles per hour per the 5 p.m. update, so it's barely hanging on as a tropical storm. It's been over land for a good 24 to 36 hours, or I would say getting close to 30 hours or so. So that means it has definitely encountered some weakening effects. And now we're seeing it emerge over the Atlantic. So right now, if we drill down to where it is, we go down to the Carolina coast and regional sector, you can see the eye, or not the eye, but the core of this storm really just kind of lingering right around the Savannah coast. This is going to continue to jog off to the east at about 5, 6 miles per hour. It could slow down and even become stationary in the next several hours and then to tonight. And then what's going to happen beyond that? So, a lot of folks have seen some sunshine, right? We've had a break, nice lull in the area down between Savannah and Charleston, where we were having some really bad squalls last night and into this morning. So this is nice, actually nice to have this lull. But don't be fooled, the storm is not over yet. Maybe some of the heavy rainfall is behind some of us. But I tell you what, North Carolina, the southeast North Carolina, and the Grand Strand are getting hammered all day today. They're piling up a lot of rain, and within these bands, within these tropical bands, and these squall lines are embedded tornadoes, right? So we might get some tornadic water spouts that are embedded, really moving into the coast up near the Cape Fear area, northern Grand Strand, and also in between Cape Lookout and Cape Fear, up near New Bern and up into Cedar Island, where this basically a tornado watch has moved up into this area where this tropical banding is just slamming into the coastline. It really is packing some winds in the 40s and 50s, maybe even 60 mile an hour um, uh, wind gusts, right? So keep in mind that just because it's quiet here doesn't mean it's over yet. We definitely have some more life left ahead of the system now as this goes out. And I'm going to show some of the modeling features as we go forward. We've lost a lot of the moisture overland. We're starting to see a little bit of this train on the southwestern quadrant of the system. And if we get, the core is a little bit hollowed out from dry air intrusion, right? So we've seen some dry air coming in from the west, wrapping into the core. Basically, just being over land has dried it out in the core. As it gets over the Atlantic, the waters are between 82, 84 degrees, maybe 85 in some areas. Then you have the Gulf Stream, which is out here along the Florida Hatteras Slope. That's a consistent 84, 85 degrees, but it is a shallow thermohaline current out there. What's going to happen, I think, is we're going to see the system come off the coast, meander, go stationary, and then try to come back into the coast somewhere, maybe right over Charleston. This could very well happen, but this is going to be a very slow process over the next 24 to 48 hours. Will it get back to hurricane strength? I don't think so. There's not, once it gets to this point where you get so much weakening in the core of the system, it takes a lot, really, and it needs to be out over the open waters, gaining a really nice deep feeder trough from the south to get that core wrapped up again in convection. So, could it make a run for a hurricane? I doubt it. Maybe a strong tropical storm, yes. And what that means is as it hooks out in the coast, out over the water, and hooks back into the coast, this actually could pick up more energy for more rain. So we're not done with the rain yet just because we're getting a break. And everything that's on the ground, we've seen between 10 to 15 inches of rain. It's going to be exacerbated by even more rain. So we go to let me move myself out the way. I think I've been out in the way the whole time. So apologize about that. But if we go to rainfall totals here, we're seeing additional rainfall on top of what's already happened. So we've had about 10 to 15 inches of rain between Charleston, Savannah, and let me pull the draw tool over, get it over here. So in this area, 10 to 15 inches of rain already. Some of the rain releases came out last night. You had upwards of 8 inches near Bluffton. Some other areas, it's very hit and miss. So it's not perfect, not a perfect spread all the way around, but we have this much rain on top of what's already fallen. And so when you have an overly saturated ground, this can be problematic, especially with trees that could fall over because the ground just gets so saturated that the topsoil and everything that the root systems are holding on to are loosened over time. So that's a big concern. We've seen that today. We've seen that in areas, I mean, Wando and different areas all over Charleston. Just a few trees here and there have come down just because of being overly saturated, not even about the winds. So yeah, that's one thing to consider. Also, is the flash flooding potential continues just north of Savannah into Georgia, where these areas have been overly saturated. I'll say one thing: the watershed system is starting to fail along the lowlands and even into Effingham, Georgia, where this area is. We're seeing, one of the reports from the Effingham Fire and Rescue was that Highway 30 was closed down because the dam is at catastrophic failure. And this has also been labeled as a catastrophic rain event, so it falls in suit, where all of a sudden now the water is washing out the road, so the whole Highway 30 is closed, and that may happen, very well happen up in these areas as we get the rain swath really pushing north up into Charlotte. These areas, this is all watershed area, the lowlands, right, where your mountains trickle down. You have your watershed that kind of pushes down these rivers and lakes and dams that all control that flow, get overburdened, and then you end up with a lot of rivers swelling and you get a lot of flooding. So we're going to be dealing with this for the next several days, if not weeks. I mean, this could be going on for the next week or two with this river flooding situation. So not a good thing. Just because we're okay here at the coast doesn't mean we're all the way out of the woods yet. We may have our neighbors inland dealing with some serious issues with river flooding. Let's see. Let's look at the latest cone, and we can see here where Tropical Storm Debby just comes right off the coast, lingers, and then heads to the north. A lot of this track guidance is widened because of the differences in the modeling. So the NAM3 and the Euro are in agreement right now. But the GFS takes a little bit more east and then north. So it's all encompassing the track of what they believe the storm is going to do after it makes an emergence over the Atlantic Ocean. So that'll be the primary thing going forward is knowing what the key messages are: continued catastrophic flooding, heavy rainfalls, and considerable flooding impacts the central and the upstate of South Carolina, western North Carolina, and up into Southwest Virginia. So the Mid Atlantic is now starting to see this. If we look at COD, the College of DuPage, where the precip is starting to push forward, right? It's starting to push up north, up the coastline, all the way up into tidewater, and this is going to continue to, conditions will continue to deteriorate as we get into tomorrow and into the next day after that. So right now, northern Outer Banks is starting to feel it, and then as the system goes out, hooks, and starts to head north, it's going to push more moisture farther north up the coast. So um, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the model outputs for this. Oh, real quick, I want to cover the tornado outlook. So the latest tornado watch has been set for this area, which looks to be somewhere between, I would say this is Winyah Bay, Santee River area, right at Winyah Bay, right, Georgetown, all the way up to, it looks like about Cedar Island, North Carolina, just north of New Bern or northeast of New Bern. So that's usually one of the breaks in the forecast zones is National Weather Service Wilmington and then on up to Newport carry these two zones. So the tornado watch extends up the coast and inland for these areas as those tropical bands continue to lash into the coastline. Let's go ahead and take a look at the NAM3. I know these are deterministic models, so I've been waiting on this 18Z to fill in. And what, kind of what it's thinking, right? This is just one solution out of many. And we tend to look at, a lot of times we look at ensemble models where you have multiple scenarios. But in this case, since it's so close to the coast and we know it's going to make its way back into land, we start to really focus on deterministic because it really is pointless to kind of go with that many members for a small aggregated area. But if we look at the NAM3, we see this spinning off the coast. It tries to gain some more convection, drop in pressure. This is where it tries to make another run at a strong tropical storm, or at least a medium to strong tropical storm, before making landfall again. So this thing's just going to wobble. Here we are on Thursday, about 10 o'clock at night, right? So we're going to UTC. This is O2Z here. If you look at the timestamp, if you're following, UTC in the summer is 4 hours back from O2, which means it's 10 o'clock p.m. But you can see here Thursday, Wednesday night and into Thursday before it finally makes landfall somewhere up, again, makes another landfall up near Georgetown and Winyah Bay area. So that's the NAM. The Euro, on the other hand, has a little bit of a different scenario, very much in line with it, but it curves, basically curves and comes back in a little closer to Charleston, maybe up near Bulls Bay, with the pressure dropping as well. So that looks like it could be, medium to strong tropical storm on its next landfall here. And the Euro keeps it real slow moving, get into Thursday morning, 8 a.m., and then finally pulls it north. So that's what's going on there. And if we look at the GFS, I always want to look at all of the different runs. Let me see if they got the 18Z. Nope, not yet, but we'll go ahead with the 12 o'clock run. And from initialization around the coastline here, we go forward. The GFS brings out over the ocean, wobbles back and forth, and then heads right back to the west. So it makes another landfall actually closer to Hilton Head and Beaufort. So that's why the NHC is keeping this track really kind of widened out along the coastline. What we do know is that this could potentially, as it re-strengthens a little bit more, we know it probably will re-strengthen some. It could also gain more moisture around its core. So right now, again, if you're just joining, we're seeing more of a, as Tropical Tidbits, Levi Cowan says, hollowed out core. It's a little bit dry in the center from being over land for so long, but we're seeing this moisture starting to wrap around. As it gets off the coast, we get this low, we start to see the moisture gaining a little bit more. We start to see more and more coming into the coast. So with that said, we'll go ahead and take a look back at the rainfall amount totals. And so that's what they're calling right here for additional rainfalls in excess of what's already on the ground. So 8 to 12 more inches, maybe 6 to 8 or 6 to 10 actually for the Charleston area. There is a graphic I was looking at earlier which has something on my page that I put on. Where is that thing at? Let me see if I can pull it over here. There we go. Forecast additional rainfall. So they're saying, from today forward, from this afternoon, 10 to 15 is already fallen near Beaufort, 8 to 10 near Charleston, and then we have 4 to 6 additional inches. So we still could make a stab at that 20-inch rainfall threshold, and some areas may go a little bit over it. So don't think we're out of the woods yet. It just means, the worst of the higher end of the rainfall totals are behind us, but we still have several more inches to go. And that'll just be flooding water right there, right? So everything's so saturated, everything's overburdened that it won't take very much to flash flood anymore. So be expecting more of those emergency flash flood warnings that you've been getting on your phones. Real quick, winds. Actually, before winds, let's go back to the guidance here. So why is this going to be lingering? We look here. If you look off to our east, we have this Bermuda High. We have a ridge to our west as well. These two are what this system has been caught in between. So it's been sandwiched in between two areas of high pressure, and it's not able to move very much. If we go forward in time, we see that the western ridge starts to fade out, right? And then this one fades back, and then the Bermuda High starts to nose in a little further, which pushes this system into the coastline. So that's the good thing about the Bermuda High is it won't be over water too long, and it will force it back into land. Now beyond that, what happens is we get a trough, an upper trough that starts to swing through to the north, right? So this will likely try to bring a cold front down across the area. It'll probably head like this. It probably will not make it all the way to the southeast, but it'll be enough of a trough to pull down and dig into the storm and pull it off to the northeast. So eventually by Friday, Saturday, this is where we think the storm is going to finally start to move up and out of the area and clear out for the weekend for the southeast region, hopefully very quickly. So this is for the GPS moving out of here by Saturday morning up across the New England states. So that's the thinking, is that by this weekend we'll have this system out of here, or at least some time by Saturday, Sunday it'll be out of here, and then we can get back to resume some normal operations for a lot of different things and get back to normal all the way around. So expect that rain all the way through Friday with additional 4 to 6 or even 6 to 10 inches of rain. Wind speeds, as far as winds, we haven't had a lot. Like last night, I think was the highest wind speed I've seen along the coastline was Folly Beach, South Folly. This may have been associated with some tornadic activity that moved in. So we did see about 10 reports of tornadoes last night, and they're all slowly being verified by the Weather Service. They know that some of these were actual tornadoes. They just haven't classified them yet. They're waiting on the emergency management teams to go out and take some pictures, get some damage reports in, and then maybe do a classification that way. Normally they would go out in the field and do it, but they're overburdened and understaffed at their office. So they're doing the best they can to keep up. So make sure to keep them in your thoughts as they work really hard to give you all the information we need going forward, all the official. The 63 miles per hour last night, and that was at, if you're a resident there, you probably would have felt it. It was at 11:52 p.m. last night. So I think there was some tornadic activity that moved through a little earlier, but at least this gust was pretty high. That's about the highest I've seen. Some of the other areas in Charleston, there's a Hernet station here, West Ashley, that got up to pretty high up there, about 59 miles per hour at 12:15 a.m. this morning. Not too far behind the Folly reading. But then if we go up to Winyah Bay, we're seeing gusts into the 30s there. To get into today, we saw gusts about 53 miles per hour, 8 o'clock this morning. But generally, everything's kind of on the down, right? We're in this lull where the storm is barely hanging on as a tropical storm. So we'll continue to see some ups and downs in the wind field. I don't think we're going to see any heavy squalls until maybe tomorrow. So that answers that question. I think, as this system gets out over the water, it starts to gain a little bit more intensity. We'll start to see some more of this banding moving into the coast. But as we get closer to the core, we see a little bit less of that. And we see more of what's going on now. We see this deep tropical banding really on the outskirts along the eastern side, which has been the main course for this storm. The eastern side has always been stronger throughout the whole thing. So even when it was in the Gulf of Mexico. So we'll have to wait and watch and see what happens in the next 24 hours to see if this core moves out over water and gains some convective activities around it. That will be key. If it doesn't, then we're in a better position for less rain. If it does gain convective activity, we're in a worse position where we gain more rain. So it's all about how this system is going to organize over the ocean. Right now, the sea surface temperatures are about 82 to 84. It's got enough warm water at the surface and less upper shear aloft, so it has a conducive environment to basically intensify somewhat. So if we look at the National Hurricane Center for the forecast advanced discussion, they're pulling for about 55, 60 knots. So they're actually going to really kind of go at a stronger tropical storm with this over the next 24 to 48 hours as it goes over water. So that's what the NHC is thinking, strong tropical storm on their 60 knots is roughly around 70, 72 miles per hour. So it's kind of close to hurricane status, but I don't think we'll quite get there. I'd be very surprised if we do, just considering its core right now, what it looks like. All right, let's go ahead and take some questions. Thanks everybody for hopping on. First of all, I know I just went through that for about 15, 20 minutes, but wanted to try to answer all your questions up front, which is sometimes impossible because there are always ones that I don't think about. Okay, Alma, let's see. You must be tired. Thanks for all you do. Yeah. Well, Alma, it's like a marathon. I've talked to Rob Fowler, Bill Walsh a little bit. We all kind of go into it like they're live on TV, so they have to be in the studio. I'm more of a home person, doing the work here, but I still stay glued to it, right? And so you just take it in stride. It's like a marathon run, but we know what we're looking at right now. We're looking at more rain than anything else, so it doesn't make it so hard this time around. Hey, Karen, how are you doing? Hope to see you back at our workout soon. Hope you're healed up pretty good. Loretta, hey, how are you? Hope things are good on DI for you guys. I was just there last night for a little bit, and everything looked really good. Jano Island's a pretty resilient place, anyways. It's higher up in elevation. The drain runoff systems, their pond systems, the retention waters, everything's set up so well out there. It just, everything just kind of goes right out to the creeks and harbors as far as rainfall runoff. So pretty well done out there. Susan Young, yeah, thank you. And Sally Campbell, you're very welcome. Steve Smith, what can we expect for surge tide levels in the harbor? Oh, good. See, this is why I like to go to our questions. And Steve, that's a great question. Let me go to our currents. What I'm seeing right now is not bad. So this is the NOAA tides and currents, right? This is National Water Prediction Service. So NWPS is what the National Weather Service actually goes in and does forecasting for. So we had like these ET surge and slosh models, which are based on GFS. This one is a little bit more locally done. It's actually manually done by the forecasters every day. They update this, I think, at least once or twice a day going out for the next several days. And I see the highest tide. We have another high tide coming on the way up now at 6.9 feet. So not even at the moderate stage. Our surge for the area is considered to be remaining at, let me find it here. There it is. So the surge for 2 to 4 feet has actually gone north up between South Santee River and Cape Fear. That was on us. Now it's not. But this could change if the storm does re-intensify and push north and actually get some winds wrapped around it. We get that southeast onshore flow. If that occurs, we could see this 2 to 4 margin come back down over the Charleston area. We'll have to wait and see. But right now we're 1 to 2 feet for the surge. And really, it really looks like a good situation. We're in a waning crescent moon. We were at a new moon last weekend. We're coming out of that. It was an apogee phase, which means it's farthest away, not a perigee, which would be the worst. Seems to always be our luck, but this time it worked out on our behalf, where we're at a waning crescent, and it looks like our tide won't even hit 7 feet. And then even tomorrow, 6.4 is the highest, and we go up a little bit, 6.8. So it's going to keep it on the higher end, higher than normal, but more like a full moon, higher than normal. So Steve, we're looking like we're in pretty good shape there. Hope you're not going out deep sea fishing this week. D. Collins, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Joy McGrew Wireman, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Andrea Hayden, Carol Burns, thank you all very much for hopping on. Let's see See if I can find more of these comments. Okay, here we go. Roy O'Grady, he asks, how strong would the winds be inland, like Somerville, Goose Creek area, or at their worst? Well, we looked at the winds along the coast, and typically on these onshore winds, we don't see them coming up as high. Even up here, Panopolis, we're seeing 16, maybe some gusts to 20. And today we saw some gusts into the 30s, so that can definitely happen. But when you have this onshore flow, let me just kind of give a little bit of a discussion about this. So when you have this southeast flow around a tropical system coming into the coast, this is what's called warm air advection around the system. It's more horizontal. In other words, it's lifting. Warm, moist air is always wanting to lift, but it comes into the coast more horizontal. So these barrier islands and the immediate coastline kind of take the brunt of these winds, and you don't feel it as much inland. All this, what happens is these surface winds come in, they start to get eaten up by mechanical features, and then you get wind shadowing, and it basically this area takes the punches for you. And as we get inland, then you see the wind's really falling off. You get these small little squalls like we saw last night, but overall not as bad. So I would say right now we're in about the 20 to 25 mile per hour range with gusts into the 30s. You'll probably see 15 to 20, maybe 25 to 30 mile per hour gusts inland for tonight. And as tomorrow, as we start to get, back or start to strengthen again into a strong tropical storm, you'll see these winds coming up. So we may see 35, 40 miles an hour winds tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow night, and increasing some maybe 20 to 30 miles per hour inland with gusts up to 40. And it really depends on if you get some storms as well. Some of those squalls can kick up winds about 20 more miles per hour on top of that. But overall, not looking too bad. I wouldn't say any kind of hurricane force winds are going to occur. But that's the nature of these winds. These are warm, moist surface flow coming in off the ocean. But as the system goes north and gets up above us, up to say here, we get the wraparound flow. And that's where, if this system is a strong tropical storm as it moves inland, up in this area, we see that wraparound flow. That actually, if the wind is pulling in one direction this way, and as soon as you go introduce a new direction from this way, this is a downslope wind. So it actually has a little bit of a cooler air current going on where it's more of a downsloping wind at an angle versus a surface flow coming in to inland. So this is what surprises. We saw it with Hermine from Florida. Anytime we get these wraparound northwesterly flow, we tend to get a lot stronger gust inland, and that can actually topple trees. So that's kind of a good point to make where you brought up about the winds inland. So I'm glad you brought that up because that's a good topic as this storm goes to our east and north. Those wraparound winds may feel stronger inland than at the coast. Right now, it's stronger at the coast than it is inland. So the opposite effect once those winds switch up. Good question. Let's see here. Meredith Ricks Barrett. Hey, I'm overdue for an appointment at the dentist. So get on me, Meredith. Stay on me. Have me come back in. I need to get another teeth cleaning done. Thanks for all you do, by the way, Meredith. I've been going to this clinic forever. Carol Burns, you're welcome. Let's see. Andres Hernandez. Let's see. He asked a question. Whoops. Sorry there. I lost you on that one, Andre. Trying to get back, but the phone's doing some funky stuff right now. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up with that. I've got to get on to some of my operational forecasts for sail flow, I kite surf, I windsurf, and Tempest. But I would say, going forward, those are the key messages for tomorrow, Thursday, and into Friday is that the system will be moving off the coast. It will be re-intensifying to some degree. I don't think it's going to make a hurricane status. The call is for 60 knots, which means it'd be right around 70, 72 miles per hour. And when it makes the landfall, it may have some some additional wind impacts, but we're not done with the rain yet. So we're anticipating another possible 6 to 10 inches on top of what we already have, which that will exacerbate the situation a lot quicker because of that standing water. So just be aware of that. Be aware of the flooding risks where you are. We've had a lot of rain in the last couple of days. Just stay hunkered down and be safe in whatever you do. And we'll talk to you. I'll do another live event tomorrow. Till then, take care, everybody. I'll see you next time.